No, no, okay. So as I said, maybe those in America might not really comprehend the fact that Denmark, apart from Scandinavia, has ABBA and Ace of Base. You really, it just seems a mile away from hip hop. The fact that a radio station is playing that, it just seems like, well, how did they even get a hold of that? And then I'm sure your parents like, well, what are they saying?
What are you doing?
No, but
Oh,
English,
totally.
this hip
Well,
hop and everything. Yeah.
yes, but we had a little bit of a breakdance commercial moment when
Okay.
hip hop came out. You had all the big movies breaking and stuff like that.
Breaking, yeah,
Wild
Toba
Style.
Nova Zone. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And there was like, breakdance became like everybody's running around with white gloves and doing the robot and all that stuff. So it wasn't super unusual to get into the culture because at that time it had a momentum. I think
Okay.
you probably in England too, we started seeing people breaking the streets and
Yeah,
stuff like
yeah,
that,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
which we had in Denmark too, believe it or not.
Oh,
Uh, but when that faded away, because that was just this breakdance trend, then the real hip hop b-boys as we were, we stayed on, and that was really challenging because now we were like, "What are you doing with this? That's over."
yeah,
I was told over and over, hip hop is over. It's going to be 3 years, 2 years. It's never going to be anything. Look at today.
yeah,
Hip hop has absolutely outrun any other genre, and
yeah.
its impact in commercial businesses, like from cars to homes to everything, fashion. Hip hop is a major influence of everything
Yeah.
we see in our culture today. So
Oh,
that's a big win for us.
yeah, no, it's true. But why the turntables? Because when I interviewed Grandmaster D from Houdini, I said to
Wow.
him, he says, well,
Major respect for that, by the way.
he
That's, when you say stuff like that, you go back to my youth here. Yes.
yeah,
We
because
love
he was
Houdini.
saying, but
Yes.
back in those days, the DJ was the person and the MC was you get an MC because the DJ did the parties. And so the MC they were more
Right.
important than the MC, So it was
Right.
interesting the fact that why you decided to do to be the DJ. Were you thinking I'm going to get some MCs locally to rap over what I'm doing, or what was your thoughts?
Not at all. I was only into how did Grandmaster Flash do the Wheels of Steel.
Wow.
And I studied and I found out that he originally did that on three turntables.
Oh,
So that's why it was so hard to do too, because he's changing records really fast.
wow.
And when you only have two turntables, you will have to have the vinyl stacked on top of each other. So you just put it on as a vinyl to make it as fast as he did it.
Yeah.
So I just became obsessed with that song, and that was all turntable and DJing. So it was pretty clear from the beginning that's what I was going to do because it was the sounds that got me into the culture. And also, when I did my first graffiti piece, you know, I showed my friends, they're like, I don't think it's going to be graffiti.
It is interesting that you actually really are a student from hip hop from the beginning because a lot of people might have heard some of the influences of your later production and thought that, he's taking stuff from some of our hip hop producers and mixing him, whether it's Dilla and people like that, without
Well,
realizing
I
your
want to do.
his yeah.
I'm so happy we talk about this because that's actually one of the saddest things slash best things. Do for Love, we adored Jay Dilla. Jay Dilla for us hip hop producers is God. And Q-Tip too, by the way, just so
Yeah.
you know, he is those two guys are the first one who starts taking different pieces, but not from the same record. They would have like a bridge or something going in before the hook from another record. They would have horns from a third record on top of other sample. And I always hated when all these rock producers were like, "Oh man, you guys are just stealing stuff." Have you tried to put together a hip hop record? Because that's a lot harder to play a Van Halen solo. You can just
Mhm.
copy. It's so complicated to make hip hop. So I never took that. So when we do for love is a special moment in my life because we have worked with Pac, and I'm so happy that I got to work with him. We did a song called Old School. That was one of my first times I worked with him, and that was about East Coast hip hop. It was incredible because I knew everything about East Coast, and you forget Pac is from New York.
You forget,
I know he's the West Coast, but no, he is East Coast. So we had so much fun doing that record together because it was all about paying respect to all the original legends. And when the next record I did with him, when he called me, and I remember I was on Sunset Boulevard, and he said, man, that record you did is going to be the title for my next album. I don't know if you can imagine being a little white boy from Denmark, but Me Against the World is our song we did with Tupac. That was the title of his album. It was so overwhelming. We were so thankful of it. When we did Do for Love, Pac had passed away.
Yeah.
And Afeni called me and said, I only want people, he has a lot of material. We think about putting out some stuff he didn't finish, but I only want people that he really worked with to do it. And I remember she came up, and actually the first song we did was not Do for Love. It was I Wonder If Heaven Got a Ghetto. And I don't know if you can imagine, we were sitting with Afeni and we had these big speakers and we just put the a cappella on because there's no music underneath. And he's talking about, I wonder if heaven got a ghetto, and he just passed away. And Afeni is just crying next to me.
Wow.
It was almost like speaking down from the speakers. And his original idea was this kind of up-tempo Bruce horn, I think it was called, piano. And I thought it was okay. And I said to Afeni, can I try to do something else? And she goes, sure. And I did this, I don't know if you know the record, but I did this version of I Wonder If Heaven Got a Ghetto. That's the one they played, at least over here in America. And I actually let him go. I take the beat half tempo. So Pac kind of bounces, which was the current style. JC started doing all that stuff. And it was so magical. And I found this cameo sampling, whatever. So I was so excited about it. And my wife, who passed away, Maxie, who was part of Brownstone, which is a big R&B group.
Oh, yes. That was
that's the mother to my son. And she's singing on that record. we were just started. Yeah. And then she came back, and the record company was so excited about this record we've done. I Wonder If Heaven Gonna Get Him. She come in and I have this other one called Do for Love. And obviously she played me the original song, Bruce. I always forget his name.
Yeah.
What do you want to do for love?
Yeah.
And this is where it comes in.
Mm.
It's a long journey to get back here. But because Pac and I had really bonded over East Coast hip hop, and I was going to make an East Coast record for him because people didn't associate with that, but I knew Pac and very well, and he was very East Coast. I mean, the music he listened to he grew up listening to like Big Daddy Kane and Marley Marl and Bismarckies and all the stuff I grew up with. So there was a remix of Far Side that Jay Dilla did. And I took a little horn thing that goes do 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 do. I loved it. I said, I'm gonna take that little part, and I love the snare and the sample, which we are always, by the way, this was normal, like Premiere and all. We were all taking, someone had a dope snare, we'll make it our own, but and that's all there is from that record from Jay Dilla is the little horn and the snare. And I used that in this, and ever since it's like, that's Jay Dilla who did this record or whatever. And in some way, when I hear that, I actually get honored because I never thought I was as good as Jay Dilla. So the fact they could think that beat was Jay Dilla, instead of taking it as like, no, it's me. I'm kind of like, man, that's amazing. I'll take that because, and I know that snare and that little horn was characteristic for him. So I don't want to take any away from those two sounds, but that's all that is from Jay Dilla on that record.
Yeah, I mean,
and it's become his own little momentum. Most important thing when I say this story is Jay Dilla is God. And the only reason why I took that was almost in some way paying respect to this East Coast record. It was kind of normal to do that. Like if I had to do something earlier, Marley Marl was the big one. It wouldn't be unusual for me to maybe use the impeach the president's kick and snare that he used so much. It's not unusual to do that in hip hop. But so that's the little story about the Jay Dilla thing and us doing Do for Love.
Well, I mean, I'm a good friends with Eric Williams, and so
Oh, yes.
and he who sang the hook on it. So I
Yes.
love the record for that. Um,
Oh, thank you.
I didn't know anything about Jay Dilla, so I'm not a real hip hop person. It was only when I
Oh,
I put out the fact that I'm going to interview you, and then a few people said, "Oh," and commented about this, and I'm thinking, "Oh, so I didn't know anything about it, so I thought it's only fair to ask just to bring it up to say,
absolutely.
yeah, because
Yeah.
as I said, I didn't realize that there was a thing that you even heard about it, that people thought that you
Yeah,
because
I don't know, I mean, that's the worst part of the story. I don't want to come off as we took someone or
mm,
took someone's work and put our names on it. I mean, we've done
yeah, you've done tons
60
of stuff.
records,
Yeah, yeah.
so, in that incident, yeah, looking back, maybe I should not have taken that little horn. Maybe I should have not sampled that snare because that created confusion, and that's the last thing I wanted to do. I wanted Pac to have a little bit of a Tribe Called Quest, which was like my biggest inspiration
Mm,
of all. That's also why you hear when Karlin, my partner, comes in, he goes, "What are you hearing? What are we doing?" I go, "Tribe Called Quest." And he just goes, do, 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 do,
uh,
do, 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 do. I mean, that was because it was Tribe Called Quest. So it was natural for me because Dylan and Q-Tip were, they were the one creating the sound.
yeah,
But, that's the confusion for this record. And, I hope everybody who hears this knows that we are only honored to be in that
yeah.
category. Jay Dilla for us is maybe the biggest hip hop producer ever.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for being a part of Halftime Chat. Please remember to subscribe, share, and comment. But most importantly, why don't you become a member of Halftime Chat? We've got amazing videos, amazing perks, and being able to support the channel. But anyway, thanks for watching. Take care.
I never participated in that kind of.
Age of somewhere in between.
Us for even loving us.
On which I did an issue with.
Came out with Heat of the Moment.
BF got in the business. I'll be sure. The boys are like growing up.
Business and she's still making an impact on
4 houses down. I'm not. I have a couple of pieces.
Trying to get this one and that one.
That works for you, but just for me,
No. Okay.
they don't understand what Jodeci Boys to Men and all experience for you, and you can actually and play it.
And all these guys.
I mean, I love all different genres.